Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, whichever time it is where you are. It is Friday, and it's time to talk about episode 5 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's right, it's time for the review of the penultimate episode of the series. And every time I watch this series, I just think to myself, how is it we're only getting 6 episodes? This is so good and so in depth, and there's so many pieces in this and so many parts moving. And how are we going to wrap this whole thing up in 6 episodes? And I will be honest, I have no idea still at the end of episode 5. There is just going to be so much to deal with. And while we may have gotten closer on some answers, I think there's still quite a few bits out there that we have to dive into still. But let me do a recap of the episode. So I've got the spoiler warning on. You can see it right there. Yeah. So the spoiler warning's on. I am going to go in depth into the episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, save this video to watch later. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on my Facebook. It'll be on Twitch. You can watch it then. You don't have to watch it now. But if you do watch it now, you can jump into the conversation. So if you have seen it, like I have twice, I watched it at midnight LA time last night, and then I watched it again just now, just to have it fresh in my mind. It is an intense episode in that it starts off big and then gets into a lot of emotion, a lot of character building, a lot of let's wrap this up and now, but just put those aside for now because the final's gonna. And then there are moments where it's like, let's add something else to the finale. So it's pretty interesting. Now, let's break it down, shall we? The episode starts off, of course, with the fight between John Walker and Sam and Bucky. Walker has just killed Nico of the Flag Smashers in front of the whole world, basically. That's why it was called The World's Watching. This episode, by the way, is called The Truth, which is also the title of the comic series that introduced Isaiah Bradley as the Black Captain America. Truth, Red, White, and Black. So, we've got that. So that's why it's called The Truth, because we do get to that story. But we'll get to that in a minute. So Walker's obviously run away from the town square, is trying to clear his head, and Sam and Bucky, of course, give chase. He ends up, he's got all these thoughts of Lamar going through his head, and then the two guys show up and tell him, look, you made a mistake. You're going to have to tell him that you made a mistake, but you got to give us the shield. And at that point, Walker feels that he is Captain America. He's earned the right to be Captain America, and he's doing what he was mandated to do. So he's in no interest in giving up the shield. He sees himself having killed somebody that killed Lamar. And even though Nico wasn't the one that killed Lamar, he feels he's justified in his actions and is not willing to give up the shield. Now, is this the serum talking? Is this Walker's arrogance talking? That's up for individuals to decide, I think. I don't think they make that clear, but it's maybe a combination of it. But we end up with a fight, and it's got the line from the trailer, which is John Walker says, "You don't want to do this," and Bucky's like, yeah, we do. So Sam is trying to talk him down and is trying to reach him, but Bucky just wants to beat this guy. He's done with him. He's tired of him soiling the image that Steve Rogers created, and he's got no time for him anymore. And it just goes off. The fight starts, and it's a pretty brutal fight. You've got two super soldiers and then a well-trained human, but, they're all putting everything into it because, Sam can't hold back because he's in over his head in a sense, but he's got the wings, he's got the training. Bucky's not going to hold back. He knows that Walker's juiced, So it is a very violent scene. Sam gets his wings destroyed. Bucky gets his arm fried at one point, and Walker eventually they literally break his arm to pull the shield off of it. Oh man, I mean that's about as intense as you get. Literally breaking his arm to pull the shield off of it. And Bucky picks up the shield and just drops it with Sam, and then starts walking away, and Sam starts trying to clean the blood off of it immediately. And that's the whole key to it, is that, you know, they both feel that Walker has tarnished the reputation. And hey, Christian, how you doing, bud? Christian. And so that's the fight, and they end up, Sam gets the shield out of it. And they go back and they meet with Joaquin Torres, who shows up. And basically we find out that the government is now taking over. They're taking jurisdiction. They're having Bucky and Sam stand down. And Torres makes this great line of, there's nothing to do until there's something to do, which is a great line. I like that. Also, Torres is checking out the wings and sees that they're broken, and Sam starts to walk away just carrying the shield and leaving the wings behind. And Torres is like, yo, dude, you're forgetting the wings. And Sam's like, keep them. Well, I'm guessing Torres does literally keeps them and fixes them, but we'll get into that. Well, no, we'll bring that up now. Torres in the comics does become a version of the Falcon when Sam becomes Captain America. But his version of the Falcon is a hybrid human bird person created by Dr. Carl Mullis. Now, I don't know if we'll get into that. I think that's probably a little more than a grounded series like this wants to do. But I could see Torres fixing the wings. He's already shown that he wants to help with them. I could see him fixing the wings and making his own, you know, kind of building it to himself. We'll have to see. So then we go to Walker, who gets discharged. I mean, just clearly just kicked out of the service, other than honorable discharge. So not dishonorable discharge, but not an honorable discharge. He gets none of his retirement, none of his benefits. He's just basically put out. And they say that the reason you're not being court-martialed is because of your past record. And they're not even interested in hearing his side of it. They're like, we know all that side. You're done. You're done. You're not Captain America anymore. You have nothing to do with the military. Goodbye. And Walker loses it. I mean, he's like, I did what you told me to do. My entire life has been living by your mandates. You know, you made me this. I am Captain America, which I don't think that's going to end well. That's pretty over the top. So, and then he's outside and he's talking to his wife, and she's trying to calm him down, saying, look, okay, first thing we do is you go see Lamar's parents. They need to see you, and then we'll figure this out. And the surprise cameo shows up, and it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld and Veep shows up as, see if I can get this name perfectly, Contessa Valentina de la Fontaine. Now, I think they dropped a la, because I believe it's Valentina de la Fontaine, de Fontaine. I don't know. I think in the credits they refer to it as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, and they dropped the la. So this is an older character in the comics. This is a character from the old Jim Steranko S.H.I.E.L.D. days. She was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, but also had a bunch of other stuff in her past. She was actually a sleeper agent for Leviathan, has connections to the Russians, and at one point becomes Madame Hydra. Now, I've seen a couple other sites run with this, and by the fact that she's Madame Hydra, they've kind of substituted her for Viper, and she's not. This is not the character of Viper that we see in the comics. This is a different character. Madam Hydra is an honorific for someone who is the head female or the head in charge of Hydra. So it's Madam Hydra. In Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it was Ada, the life model decoy, the LMD that was created. In the comics, Viper is Madam Hydra for a while, but so is Contessa. So Contessa is actually more of a S.H.I.E.L.D. character. She was a love interest for Nick Fury for a long time. She also had a flirtation with Steve Rogers. She ran the FemForce for S.H.I.E.L.D. and butted heads with Sharon Carter. There's a lot of interesting backstory with this character. She's not one of the most popular known characters from Marvel. I mean, you have to have been reading the agent or the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. comic, but she was important in that line, as was Dum Dum Dugan and that whole line of characters, which they haven't done much with. I mean, we got Nick Fury, but not much of the crew that he runs S.H.I.E.L.D. with. We've got more of the modern ones with, they made up Phil Coulson, and Maria Hill is a more modern character. But you go to some older ones and you get like Dum Dum, and you get Contessa and Gabe, and you basically the Howling Commandos rolled into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So that's going to be an interesting character to see where she ties in. And also there's word that she's supposed to show up in the Black Widow movie as well. And it's possible that maybe she's putting together a team. Maybe she's building the Thunderbolts. I know there's been a lot of rumors about the Thunderbolts, and I've always taken those rumors with a grain of salt. This character makes me think that there's definitely something in the background happening. And if she's showing up in Black Widow, where she could be recruiting Taskmaster or the new Black Widow, the Yelena Belova, or Red Guardian if he survives, so it makes sense that maybe she's recruiting, and she's recruiting John Walker, because now that she tells him flat out, now that you've taken the super soldier serum, you are much more interesting to us. So that was a fascinating scene. Her business card was completely blank, which I thought was interesting. And and I think it's because of the actress, it came across a little more humorous to me than I thought it would had it been any other actress. And I know that Julia Louis-Dreyfus is an award-winning actress, and a lot of people like her. I wasn't a Seinfeld fan, so I don't know. It'll have to see what else they do with the character. I could have seen them putting a few other actresses in that role and getting the same bang for their buck, but we'll have to see how it plays out. From there we go and see Carly. She's back where the displacement camp, and it's been cleared out. The GRC is raiding all these things and breaking down and trying to capture all the Flag Smashers followers. They're not getting any of the actual Flag Smashers, but they're getting the followers. And she is upset by it. Carly is, Matthias, who they lost in the very second episode. Then Nico and Mama Danya. She's listing these off and saying stuff like, how many of us have to die just to be a citizen in this country, in this world? So she's obviously over the edge, and we find out more about that when the next scene, when we find Zemo at the Sokovian Memorial, and Bucky comes up, and he explains to Bucky that Carly is now past the point of salvation. She's too radicalized. She's going to have to be killed, and that Sam won't do that, and it's up to Bucky to live up to his programming. And Bucky says, yeah, I'll take that under advisement, but we're going to do it our way. And then Bucky pulls the trigger on him, but the gun's empty. just to kind of, have that moment with Zemo, like, oh, okay. And what we see is that there's this whole, like, no hard feelings between the two of them thing, where Zemo's like, I took the liberty of crossing my name out of your book. I hope there is, and it's like, oh, okay. And then he hands him over to the Dormelage, who are going to take him to the raft. And I think that may be one of the most important lines of that whole scene, in that there's again, Thunderbolt talk. Zemo was one of the first members of the Thunderbolts in the comics. And of course, who runs the raft? General Thunderbolt Ross. So they're basically delivering Zemo back to jail, but they're taking him to the place that Thunderbolt Ross runs. So that might be the most important thing. And then Io tells Bucky, you may, keep yourself scarce from Wakanda for a while. And Bucky's like, yeah, sure. And oh, by the way, I need another favor. And now I'm starting to wonder, because Bucky, when he gives what he gets over to Sam, he says, I called in a favor. Where are these favors from? How did he earn the title White Wolf? And why does Wakanda owe him favors? Is there a story we don't know yet? Is there something that Bucky did in his time in Wakanda to earn the title White Wolf, who in the comics is a guy named Hunter, a white guy, a Caucasian guy who was raised in Wakanda after his parents' plane crashed or something, and he turned out to be the head of the secret soldiers, or the secret police of Wakanda, the spies, basically. And how did Bucky get that title, and how does he have favors owed to him? Because it pretty much seemed like Wakanda saved him. So how did that happen? Meanwhile, we get to the heart of the episode, the truth of the episode, when Sam goes to visit Isaiah. And of course, we first meet Eli outside, and Eli's like, all right, you can talk to him, but I'm coming in. I'm watching you. Because, Eli is Eli. And he's going to be interesting to see if they do anything more with that character, if he got his grandpa's powers passed down. Yeah. That'll be interesting to see. And also when he would have gotten the powers. And there's a question. In the whole story that Isaiah gives to Sam about how, he got experimented on, and then went and saved his friends and was in jail for 30 years and all that stuff going on. When did he have a son? And how come he never talks about his son? We know his grandson's there, and he talks about this woman he loved, and but never about how he has a grandson. Is he his grandson? And if he's posing as being dead, they declared him dead, why would he go to his grandson to hide? Wouldn't you stay away from your old life? That's a couple thoughts there. Anyway, so they have this very deep conversation, and Isaiah's got this line about they'll never let a black man be Captain America, and no self-respecting black man would ever want to be Captain America. And I think that's the hurdle Sam is going to have to get over. He looks up to Steve, where Isaiah saw the Captain America role as an albatross. It's the things they did in the name of Captain America, the things they did to him, whether it was the experimenting on all of them without any well, without telling him what it was, they told him it was tetanus shots. And instead it was the stuff that changed him. Some of them died. Well, eventually it was, Eli was the only one left. And when they realized the serum worked on him, they kept him in jail for 30 years and kept experimenting on him and examining him and taking blood and stuff to try to figure out why. So his life became hell, and it's not something he signed up for. It's not, he didn't volunteer. You know, Steve Rogers got to volunteer. Isaiah didn't. So, and you just see how much Isaiah's life was taken from him, all in the name of making a new Captain America. And it was never going to be him being Captain America. They were using him as a test subject to figure out how to do it so that they can then turn who they want into Captain America. And that's pretty bad. It's a rough scene to sit through. It's, you know, Lumley is great as Isaiah Bradley, and Anthony Mackie working off of him is really, really good. And it's just a tough scene to watch because it's so just blatantly honest and just at the core of some of the darkest parts of American history and how African Americans have been treated through the years. So I think it's a very strong statement, and it kind of goes with this episode in that they got the violence, they got the fighting, the action out of the way up front, then slowed everything down and really allowed the characters to expand and the show to breathe and the story to be told. It was a storytelling episode, not an action episode. But yeah, it's a rough scene, and it leaves Sam really confused on what to do next, and he heads home to spend time with Sarah and kind of regroup, and also to wait to see if Torres finds anything or they get a lead on Carly. So he goes back and discovers that the plan to sell the boat to Mr. Din fell through because the boat needs more work than it's worth. So, you know, the thing that they wanted to do to sell the boat and try to use the money to help keep the house, that's not going to work either. And Sam realizes that that whole town owes his family a debt because of all the things they did trying to help everybody. And he decides to call it in. And he starts calling everybody and saying, look, I need some help, and pulls together these people to help fix the boat. And when they all come the next morning, they're unloading stuff, and there's this huge thing on the back of the truck that they have to unload, and they don't know how they're going to do it. And suddenly Bucky just walks up, picks it up, takes it off the boat, and takes it off the truck, puts it on the ground and says, you're welcome. And then puts this case up there and says, delivery from Wakanda, you can sign for it and I'll take off. And next thing you know, Bucky and Sam are working on the boat, and they're having this little building montage. And there's this great song by the Meters called "Hey Pocky Away" that they're playing, and it's they're sanding stuff and they're fixing the boat, and it's like, all right, I'm getting into this. I'm kind of relaxed, hanging out in Louisiana. This is kind of cool. I'm enjoying this, and then. We have this cool scene, but then we switch over to John Walker as he visits Lamar's family and lies, just lies, tells them that the Nico was the one that killed Lamar, which we all know it wasn't. But he did it to give them a sense of closure, and it was important to them. But at the same time, that's got to bug Walker, that he didn't get the one that killed his buddy. So that's going to be eating at him. So after spending a little time, they give him a picture of them together. We find out how much Lamar was proud of John and excited to be his partner and all this stuff. And when John leaves, he, of course, is walking down the street and sees one of the John Walker cap is back signs. And I don't know what company the government hired to do the PR for Cap, but these guys were good because they put those posters everywhere. Anytime you turn around, you saw that damn poster. So good on them. But you can see that Walker is not okay. He's hurt. He's angry. He feels betrayed by his country or his government. He's lost his best friend. This guy is not okay, and it's going to hit the fan. But then John goes away until much, much later, which is fine. But then we go to Madripoor, and Sharon's on the phone, and she's calling Batroc and says, hey, Batroc, I got a job for you. Don't be upset with me. You'd still be in Algerian prison if I hadn't got you out of it. I can pay you double this time. And it's like, wait a minute. Did Sharon hire Batroc in the first place to go after Sam? Is Sharon trying to kill Sam? And what the hell's got she going on now? Now, I've had this idea that Sharon is working with the Flag Smashers for a while now. Hey, Jamal, how you doing? And turns out that looks like what's going on because, she basically is hiring Batroc to help the Flag Smashers. But we'll get to that in the time when it comes up. But now the question, I know some people are looking at going, oh, confirmed, Sharon is the power broker. It doesn't feel confirmed to me yet. She is definitely pulling strings. For all we know, she might be working for the Contessa. That might be the connection there. In which case, I know a lot of people would be like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. We just met the Contessa. Why would they introduce her now? You have to remember that Black Widow was supposed to be out already. And if Contessa does show up in Black Widow, she would already be an established character that they would just be bringing in. So maybe the Contessa is Val is the power broker and Sharon's working for her, but that doesn't make a lot. There's so many things going on here that don't make quite enough sense. But the Sharon scene just verifies that she is working with the Flag Smashers, but doesn't quite verify that she's the power broker. It's still possible, but it just doesn't seem right. And of course, in the comics, and I believe this is right, in the comics, Batroc is hired by Steve Rogers to attack the Falcon to help prove that he is the new Captain America. That was so but that's what Sharon's doing. She's throwing Batroc in there to help prove that the Falcon is now Captain America. But that doesn't seem right. I don't know. It's Jamal says, oh my Contessa, what a revelation. Yeah. Still iffy on the actress, but I mean, she's a great actress, but I'll have to see how all this plays out and what they've got in mind for the character. And again, if she's supposed to already be in Black Widow, then it's possible she could be the power broker because it would have played out differently. It would have been a character we've already met, which is what I've been saying from the beginning, that it's going to need to be this late in the game. It needs to be a character we've already met and had established. Well, it did feel like her scene coming in, we were supposed to already know who she was. So that's interesting. All right. So Sharon calls Batroc. Then we go back to the boat and there's more working, but now they're kind of working as a team. You're seeing all the anxiety, all the stressors between the two, the passive aggressive, the bantering, that has kind of slipped away. And Sam and Bucky are just kind of friends now, there's a bond growing between the two of them. It's no longer they have a mutual friend in common. They are becoming friends. And I think that is one of the things I love about this particular episode is the growth in their relationship. I think Dr. Rayner would be very proud. So I'm kind of hoping by the end of all this, Bucky goes back to Raynor, and she'll say, "Well, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to have to do this anymore." And he'll say, "I know, but I want to," and then him continue his sessions with her. I think that would be a neat touch. But okay, Christian says, maybe Sharon's the daughter of the power broker, but she is not in favor of super serum soldiers like power broker. Just a thought. That is possible, though. That means that if she's the daughter, that means the power broker would be Peggy Carter's brother. That would be interesting. I know that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Agent Carter, Marvel's Agent Carter series, her brother was becoming a thing they were going to get to in the second or third season, but it didn't. Third season, but it didn't happen. I had a chance to talk to Brandon Easton, one of the writers on the series. He was a great comic writer too, and does some amazing stuff. He talked about how the brother was going to be a big part of season 3. So it is possible that the brother's going to pop up here. But I don't know. I don't know if the familiar connection is really where they're going to go. But I like the thinking. I do. Jamal says, I hope she's around a long time. I hope she's in Black Widow and Secret Invasion just to see Sam Jackson and JLD banter. True. The fact that there is supposed to be a relationship, I mean, in the comics, there's a relationship between Contessa or Val and Nick Fury. Would that be fun to see them play that out with Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Sam Jackson? Absolutely. I would love to see that. That'd be well worth the ticket of admission. So I like that a lot there, Jamal. Okay, just getting through the synopsis here. So now they're working on the boat. They take the fuel pump apart, and they're trying to put it back together. And Sarah comes down and goes, "What are you fools doing? I told you it wasn't that. Get off the boat." And she kicks them off the boat. And I do love the character of Sarah. She's very straightforward, has some great advice for Sam when it comes up, but also really loves her brother and is a very powerful, strong woman raising 2 boys. We don't know much about her backstory, but I think we could kind of piece it together. And I think she's a great character, and I'm so glad they brought that the character in, the actress, Adepero Adoye. I apologize if I'm slaughtering her name, but she is really good, and they're really making that a good character. And it's nice to see Sam's family. I like it when we get a little more in depth into these characters, and that's part of what this whole series is getting in depth with these characters. So once they kick him off the boat, we get Sam and Bucky go in the backyard to play catch. Now, I don't know about you guys, but my best friend and I used to play catch a lot in our 20s and stuff. We'd go down to the park, or we'd stand in the front yard and throw the ball around and talk. And we could bring up just about any topic and talk it out as you're throwing the baseball. And you get the aggression out by just zinging the ball back and forth. And when you really need it to, you're upset, you throw the ball a little harder. And then your buddy can tell when you catches it, okay, we got a sensitive nerve here, And that's kind of what the scene looked like to me, was the 2 of them were just playing catch with the Shield while talking through their issues. And I thought this was an amazing scene because it really digs in deep to both. Bucky comes out and says, look, Steve and I didn't get how it would mean to a black man to be handed the Shield, and we're sorry. And he apologizes, and Sam's like, thank you. And it didn't matter what Steve thought. And, he reminds them that Steve's gone and that they have to start making their own life. And Sam helps Bucky. And again, who better in this universe to help Bucky than Sam, who's used to working with soldiers and PTSD and stuff like that. And when he tells him about just do the work, You're going through the list, you're picking off the bad guys, and right now you're avenging, you're not making amends. You need to reach out to these people that only you can give closure to and help them. You need to help them, not have them help you. And Bucky gets it. And I think that's going to lead back to him going to visit Yuri and it telling him what really happened to Yuri's son. I think that's going to be Bucky's closing moment in the series. And I think that's going to be important. Now, how Yuri takes it, I don't know. It could go either way, but I think that's why we met Yuri in the beginning. And yeah, it'll be a rough scene when it happens, but I think it's a scene that needs to happen to bring it all together. And that'll be basically Bucky's arc, where Sam's arc is going from being the Falcon and giving up the shield to actually becoming Captain America. Now, they throw the shield back and forth, and eventually they agree that, look, when we get a lead, I'll be there. We're going to do this as partners. We're co-workers. We're not a team because we're not that good, but, and you see that ground has been built for them to becoming more and more of a team. And I like that a lot. I like that moment between them as he says goodbye and takes off. And then Sam starts first he goes down to paint the name over the boat so they can sell it, paint over his parents' name on the boat. And Sarah stops him and is like, we can't sell this boat. We got to keep this going. And he's like, I'm glad you said that. This is our legacy. This is who we are. And I like that Sarah came around. And I hope they find a way to make enough money off the boat now that it's fixed up, that they can start chartering it again, stuff like that. And I like that they did it with the help of the neighborhood that his parents helped, without reaching out to. A lot of people said, well, he could have got money from the Stark Foundation, Gun and Pepper Potts, or he could have got money from Wakanda. I like that he did it on his own, that they did it with the neighborhood, that, the payback from all the good deeds they had done, that their parents had done, the goodwill that they had built over the years. That to me was really good. And it wasn't the easy out. I mean, they could have easily had Pepper Potts show up and just buy him a brand new boat. And I mean, that wouldn't have made a dent in the Stark money. And Pepper probably would have done it like that. But that doesn't work for the story that Sam's going through, that Sam's becoming his own man, his own hero. He's trying to help the world and his family at the same time. Yeah, that wouldn't have been the way to solve it. This is a much better way to do it. And Sarah basically tells him that, look, I never thought you were running away from a fight. I thought you were always just trying to help everybody. And it's another really good scene. This whole episode it's not an action scene. If you are an MCU fan because of the big fights and stuff, this isn't your episode. If you're someone who likes character development and really paying off a lot of stuff, the writing on this series has been fantastic. The character growth, the arcs that they're going through, that's what this series is excelling at. And this episode itself really makes that work. Then, of course, we go into the training montage, which, I thought they could have just put in Eye of the Tiger in the background, or typical 80s, power ballad. But they did the theme song, and seeing Sam training, and a couple moments where it looks like the shield's going to take his head off. But, he gets to the point where he gets better with that shield. And that is a weird-ass shield. The Spider-Man's line about how it defies the laws of physics. It does. That's a weird shield, but it's cool. But he kind of builds himself up, and he gets to where he's good with the shield, and he's ready. And then we cut over to Carly meeting with Batroc in a park in New York, and we see how many of the Flag Smasher followers are in the area, and how they're going to go after the GRC. And to me, one of my favorite moments is Dovich, where he questions what we're working with criminals now. And Carly is like, if you haven't noticed, we are criminals, or they're saying we're criminals. I really like, I think it's Derek Cham, the Dovich character, Desmond Cham. I really, really like that character. And where I don't see maybe Carly coming out of this, or if she does, she might end up, on the Thunderbolts or whatever they're going to do with those characters. I could see Dovich becoming a hero or having a redemption arc. And I'm hoping at some point he turns and works with Sam and Bucky, because they've gone out of their way to show us his hesitation, his morality, and I hope that there's a benefit to that. I think he's a good character. I think he's a good actor. I loved reading the story that he wrote on social media about getting to hold the shield and what it meant to him growing up as a Captain America fan, as an Asian man in Australia, which just sounds all kind of weird, but it's a great story and what it meant to him. So I'd like to see the guy stay around. He was great as Riga in Shannara Chronicles, and I'd like to see him stick around the MCU and possibly become a hero of some sort. So that's my hope for him. Now, Batroc says clear out that he's there to kill the Falcon. Sharon doesn't tell him to kill the Falcon, but it's kind of implied. So again, that's why I thought, well, does she send him to test him so that there's a big public thing so he could come out as Captain America? And then my next thought is, well, maybe since Steve did that in the comics, maybe Steve's the power broker and is using Sharon. That would be really bizarre. I'm not sure how that would work or even why Steve would be the power broker. But that's the thought that came to mind. I don't think it's true, but it popped in my head. I do think that Sharon may be trying to test Sam. I don't know why she would save them and then send someone to kill them, or why she's working against the Flag Smashers and then with the Flag Smashers. She's the character that they're going to have to solve. They're going to have to tell us what in the flying, whatever that she's doing. It doesn't make sense. So Torres ends up calling Sam and goes, "Hey, look, we figured out these pings, da da da." And they pinged this afternoon from New York, and at the same time, Sam's watching the GRC broadcast of how they're going to do the vote, and it's obvious that's the target. And Sam's like, "I got this. I'll take it from here." And then we go to the GRC where the vote's happening, and one of the guys from the park walks up and says, "One world, one people," or whatever their line is. And alarms start going off, and you see the GRC is being attacked. And then back over is Sam. He's opening up the box, and we don't get to see what's in the box. We just get to see him looking like, oh, man. Well, we know it's a new wingsuit. And it's a good chance it's done up in red, white, and blue like Captain America. So that'll debut next week. But my question is, if the GRC is under attack and Sam is just opening the box, how does he get from Louisiana to New York that quick? How fast can the wingsuit fly? Does he hop on a jet? I mean, that's still... What's the flight time between Louisiana and New York? That's got to be an hour, 2 hours. He's got to set up the flight. He's going to have to call Torres back. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that just kind of gets swept under the rug in this story. But that's where we're at. So he's got to call Bucky. He's got to put the suit on. He's got to get to New York, get Bucky to New York. and take on the Flag Smashers for the big finale. That's what it is. It looks like this is going to be the big finale. We've seen clips where Bucky's on a motorcycle and throws himself over a barricade to tackle to Carly. We're going to get Sam versus Batroc. Should be awesome. They go to the credits and you're like, oh man, now I got to wait another week to find out what's going on. And as I'm watching, it's rolling along and I'm thinking, well, wait, last on WandaVision, they did a trailer post-credit scene on the second to last episode, the penultimate episode, and this is the penultimate episode. So I waited, and sure enough, we've got the building something scene as Walker decides to build himself a new shield. And he actually works his Medal of Honor into the shield. So it should be interesting. He looks like he's just using basic steel. So it's not going to be as good as the vibranium one, but looks like he's going to get a shield by the end of it. Maybe Walker's in New York City and the others face off with him once they get there. I think everybody is coming to New York. I think this is going to be the giant free-for-all. Walker, Sam, Bucky, the Flag Smashers, Batroc, and it's all going to go to hell in one big fight. And coming out of it, Sam is going to look like the hero in the new Captain America suit. That's how I see it kind of playing out. At least that's how I think it's going to play out. We'll have to see next week, but there's so many questions that we still have left to answer. Again, what the hell is Sharon doing? Who is she working for? Is she the power broker? Why is she hiring Batroc? Is she testing? That's just huge amount of stuff. Zemo. Are we done with Zemo? The fact that he's going to the raft? Are we going to get a teaser for Thunderbolts? Or is that just going to be dealt with somewhere else? What's going on with Contessa? She suddenly pops up. Will she be back next week? Will she be the one to call Walker? Or is this just a setup for something that would make a lot more sense once we see the Black Widow, which was supposed to come out first? Do we find out in Black Widow that she's putting together a team and she's going to bring John Walker in? But that would make more sense had we already seen Black Widow. Hey, wow. I mean, that's kind of where we're at now with this. There's so many threads still open that they've got to pull shut. I think we're done with the Isaiah Bradley story. Sam might go back to visit after everything happens, because I know there's some footage in the trailer that we got that looks like it's outside of outside of Isaiah's house, but during the day. Maybe we go back and we find out that he's passed away. I don't know. I think we're done with it, but we might still get a moment with that. But so we got Zemo to figure out. We got Taurus with the wings. Is Taurus going to build his own wings? We've got Sharon to solve. We got the Flag Smashers to stop. And will any of them turn and become good guys? We've got the power broker. Will it be Sharon? Will it be somebody else? Will we ever find out for sure? Is it tied to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings? Is it Thunderbolt Ross? Is it Arnim Zola? Is Sharon actually a Hydra sleeper agent? There are so many questions going into the finale, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But it's also really good. And I got to say, I think this will be a love-hate episode. I think people who are in it for the characters, in it for these heroes, and to see their growth and their story arc, they're going to love this episode because there was so much growth and a lot of forward movement. But are we moving forward in the overall plot? Just little increments of, okay, the Flag Smashers are going to do something. Okay, we had the fight with John Walker. The rest of it was just kind of like the first episode. dealing with the real world stuff. So those who loved the first episode and loved the series are going to love this episode. Those who feel they're being a little too much touchy-feely and, dealing with emotions, they're probably not going to like this episode that much. I'm on the side of give me more of this. Give me more boat building montages or boat fixing montages and Sam and Bucky playing catch in the backyard with the shield. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the interaction between Sam and Bucky, how that's grown since episode 2, where they couldn't be in a room together without arguing, and now they're actually on the verge of being friends. I think they are friends. They just haven't convinced themselves to say it yet. So those are my thoughts on the episode. Is there anything I missed you guys want to bring up, or anything you guys saw that thought, oh, that's important? Or it's going to be interesting to see where this goes in the next episode. If it's going to be, how long it's going to be. This one actually ran, they say it's 61 minutes. Yeah, 61 minutes, which makes it the longest one yet. Longer than any of the WandaVisions and longer than any of the Falcon and Winter Soldier so far. And it's just really, there's so much for them to deal with in the final episode. It'll be interesting to see how long it'll be and how much they get done and how much we're just going to have to assume, or, will we get the power broker? Well, we never got the witness protection guy on WandaVision. There's still clunky parts of the plot of Falcon and Winter Soldier. And again, I think that's because of the cut subplot and them trying to fix everything. But knowing that gives me a much bigger appreciation of this series and what they've done with it, piecing it all together from the initial script and trying to take out the subplot. I wish we could have seen it with the subplot, because I think this just would go to show that this was an incredible series. I hear tell that had they been able to get more episodes, they would have spent more time with Torres. So I expect we'll see more of Torres going in the future, and that he's going to do something with the wingsuit that Sam just left. And that's about it for me. I think that covers it pretty well. Hey, do me a favor. If you can take a moment and hit the like buttons. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube or Twitch, hit the like buttons, hit the subscribe buttons. I'm trying to build this channel up as best I can, so all of that stuff helps. I would appreciate it if you could do that. And also, it'll let you know when I do more of these podcasts. I know schedule-wise, I'm trying to get on a regular schedule. This one I'm probably a little earlier than I would normally be. I usually do it about noon, but I'm also extremely tired, and I'm probably going to go sleep after this. So I needed to get this done. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I look forward to Sunday night, where we're going to do Pop Go the Writers. I'm looking forward to Paul's reaction, who has been defending Sharon since day one. I just want you guys should come to the Pop Go the Writers on Sunday night just to see Paul's story, try to come up with a way to defend Sharon Carter for hiring Batroc. That should be fun. And we'll be joined also by Andrew Goggin, who was with us in when we did WandaVision. So I look forward to seeing his take on what's going on. And then we'll be next week in the final episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope you have a great day, a great weekend. Please come see us Sunday night for Pop Go the Writers, and have a good day.